That evening in Farquhar's sheds, Edward was staying over for the night, as he had a long journey to go back to Wellsworth, but was in need of a rest. Thomas and Percy were also in the sheds with him. They liked having Edward stay over for a few times. They told him stories about what happened on Farquhar. Edward enjoyed their company. He knew that they were good friends to him. Percy decided to tell Edward a story.
Hey Edward, want to hear my story about the ghost train story?
Toby and Thomas laughed about it, although Thomas did find the story that time very embarrassing, but had begun to accept it, that it was a long time ago and everything had changed.
Sure, Percy, please tell me.
And Percy told him. Soon later, Edward's face turned from a smile to concern.
No, that really did happen.
Whatever do you mean, Edward?
What? You're just making that up, Edward. It was all a fake story on television.
That's what your driver really thought. It really did happen.
Rubbish, Edward. You're going all soft in the boiler.
I'm not making it up, Thomas. It happened the same year when Peter Sam arrived.
Whatever do you mean? They all three said.
Well, perhaps I can tell you the story.
And this is the story Edward told.
It happened back in 1913 when the project for the North Western Railway had begun. Back then, Sir Toppenhat's great-great-great-great-grandfather, Sir Toppenhat the First, back then was referred to as the Fat Director. He had loaned engines to help out with the project, and there was even a big engine who did passenger runs for the time being, before Henry and Gordon. One of the engines who also worked on the railway was named Timothy. He looked very identical to Thomas and was the first E2 tank engine of the E2 tank engine class. But unlike most E2 tank engines, he was slightly different as he was only a prototype. Just like every other engine, he was a hard-working engine, but was prone to losing his temper when something didn't go his way or upset him personally. During November 1913, the manager came up to Timothy to have news.
Timothy, there is no more work for you on this railway anymore. The Fat Director has decided to bring in a new E2 tank engine instead of you, with better improved qualities.
So I'll be placed here in the shed until further notice?
Unfortunately, the Fat Director has no plans for you on this railway anymore. So rather than keeping you here or having you preserved, he says that he's going to sell you for scrap at the ending of the year. Timothy was shocked by this.
But sir, I'm surely there'll be plenty of work for me here. Can't they just send me back to my old railway where I originally came from, or just lock me in the sheds until someone comes to buy me?
Unfortunately, nobody wants you, Timothy. They just said that there's not... All the parts we've been giving you to keep you maintained and service have not been enough, and you have aged very badly due to being used way too much. These new E2 tank engines are going to be proven to be a lot more efficient than you are. I'm sorry, Timothy, but there's nothing more I can do. The manager walked away, leaving Timothy feeling rather sad and angry at the same time. He may be old, but he didn't think his time was over yet. But then he thought of a plan, a very devious plan. That evening at the sheds, Timothy told the other engines about his fate, who were not pleased about his fate. Unfortunately, Timothy just smiled about it as he set off to get his passenger train. Timothy arrived at the harbour. All the passengers aboard the train. The guard blew his whistle, and his driver said, "Full steam ahead, Timothy." "Sure thing." And then they steamed off.
Everything was going well. Timothy clickety. As soon as they reached this first station, the driver tried to put on the brakes, but the brakes had failed. And then Timothy started to go faster. And then he started even go more faster and more faster.
Timothy! Yelled the driver. What are you doing?
But Timothy didn't answer. He just kept going. They kept scooting down the line at 140 kilometers an hour. They were switched off a siding, heading away from the main line. The driver and fireman saw in horror. They were heading towards a cliff to where a viaduct was to be built.
Timothy, don't! You will kill us all!
The driver and fireman desperately tried their best to stop him. But it was no use, as Timothy still didn't relent. There was a loud crash as all the coaches came off the rails.
And a loud explosion.
After the wreckage had been cleared, people who lived on farms went to investigate the sound. They saw a bunch of dead people and destroyed coaches. Timothy's crew and the passengers had all died upon the impact. Timothy, who was also badly damaged and wrecked, had also died upon impact. After the wreckage had been cleared, all the remaining parts of Timothy and the coaches were all sent away to be scrapped. The dead bodies were soon given a funerals to all the devastating friends and family who have lost them. The project was put on a hiatus until it was later reopened on May 1914. The other engines did not want to speak about it during that time, but when I arrived to the railway, they quickly told me about. Before they left the railway, they had told me about the whole story.
Good grief, Edward. I can't believe that actually happened. Me neither, said Thomas. This is going to be a big problem.
I don't think so. On every year on the day of the accident, Timothy's spirit runs again as a warning to others. But I noticed that he has been lurking around the railway lately. For whatever reason, it's not going to be good.
That evening, Duck was waiting at the station to drop his passengers off. He was waiting eagerly for the signal to change. At last, Stepney passed by with a goods train. The guard then blew his whistle and Duck set off. He was puffing smoothly down the line. Everything was going well around midnight until Duck heard a strange whistling sound. Oh dear, what is that? Duck's driver and fireman quickly stopped Duck to investigate, but there was nothing there. As Duck was about to leave, he saw a train that looked very identical to Thomas but was slightly longer and bigger. As it whistled past, fiddling, hit to burst, and then vanishing into thin air. Duck was absolutely horrified by this and quickly ran off without a trace. He then arrived at the harbour to rest. Boko and Bill and Ben were there also resting in the sheds there as well. Hello, Duck. What seems to be the problem? Looks like you saw something, said Boko kindly. Oh, I've just seen something. It looked like a ghost. And it looked very identical to Thomas.
Maybe it's Thomas's evil spirit coming to haunt you, Duck,
teased Bill and Ben. Oh, stop it, you two, said Bill and Ben. Oh, they are right. It did look like Thomas, and it looked very scary too. I saw a glimpse of its face. The engine's face, it looked very terrifying, like something the devil himself could describe. Unfortunately...
Oh, maybe it's coming to get you, Duck.
As
maybe you are in trouble now.
As about Bill and Ben were about to break black with more insults, they heard a strange whistling sound, followed by puffing and a demonic laughter. before the engine fully fit to burst, disappearing into the distance. Bill and Ben and Boco were shocked at what they heard.
Well, this is a surprise. Duck, looks like you have seen a ghost.
Yes, indeed. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys. The next morning, Duck arrived at Farquhar to tell Thomas, Percy, and Toby what he had saw. Thomas and Percy and Toby were shocked and told Duck what it was.
I believe that's the engine from Edward's story. It's Timothy. He said that he has been seeing Timothy lurking around the railway for a while now, and says that he's here for warning about something.
Or whatever it is, Toby, I don't like where it's going to happen. Unfortunately, they would not know. Unfortunately, they would have to wait until next time.